Okay, so we already had a pledge of allegiance to the flag. We're returning. This is our November meeting, the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners, and we're at the Station 1 Firehouse.
Packed house.
Yeah, packed house, and I see Stephen here, the union president, and Steve, I want to thank you for inviting me for the, inviting us to the memorial service, which will be Saturday, this Saturday. I will not be able to make that, and the holiday party as well, you invited us. And unfortunately, I won't be able to make that. I'll be out of the country that day. So, but hopefully the other,
Just as you planned.
We checked the calendar before the other day.
hopefully the other board members will be able to make it.
When's the holiday party?
December
7th?
7th?
Thursday night, Thursday.
Yeah, it's the
evening.
7th.
Shadows.
I'll see you Saturday, but.
And this on the board member comments. I was listening, I tend to monitor the scanner from time to time. And I just want to make a comment about this weekend, at the same time, 3 calls came in, medical calls, in literally each part of town. One on Garth Road, one in the center of town, and one over by the far side of Bronxville. And 2 of the calls, the second and third call, were sounded like dire calls, people really needing assistance. And I got to say, EVAC and the fire department's response to those 3 calls and the assistance of mutual aid was quite good, because it was amazing, because you hear third call in district, you're always like, whoa, third call in district, but it was and people should know that EVAC is a primary care provider, and we're the secondary care provider for medical emergencies. And their response was extraordinarily good, and because you get nervous when you hear, not nervous, but you hear those calls where somebody's in distress and you're hoping that they get there quick, and all 3 people got transported relatively quickly. So the system works pretty well.
I would just like to add one thing. I actually had a cocktail party at the building I live in, which is in Bronxville, Stone Lee. It's across from the hospital. And we actually had one of our residents went down pretty hard, fainted. Our guys literally showed up within minutes. It seemed like it was 3 or 4 minutes. It was Captain Dempsey's group. They were just excellent. They were, how they handled themselves, how they, their manner with the residents, with the person who had taken ill. Fortunately, he was okay, but I couldn't have been prouder to be a part of the department based on the effort that those guys, showed that day. So thank you. So I mentioned that.
And other business on the chairman's comments is, we had a special meeting on October 28th where we did 2 promotions. We went from a lieutenant, we promoted a lieutenant to captain and a firefighter to lieutenant. And that's because we promoted Captain Tween to Chief Tween back at March, and he became permanent in September. So we made these promotions from a lieutenant to a captain and a firefighter to lieutenant. I can tell you it's always extremely difficult to make those decisions. It's one of the least pleasant things you can do as a board member is to do interviews and promote people, because you have to interview 3 people and 2 people walk out of the room unhappy usually, or they find out short time later. And everybody comes with their best effort, and they all come very prepared, and you have to make a tough decision. And I think the board did what it was supposed to do, but it's always very, very painful to do. And I'll let other board members comment on that.
Yeah, it was a tough choice. I mean, everybody always says, yes, it was a close vote, and but honestly, this time it was very difficult. There were 3 candidates for each position, and any one of the 3 could have gotten it. It just happened to be like, the best of the best, and I would congratulate the winners. The runners-up, I would ask them to, keep their nose to the grindstone, keep doing what they're doing, and they'll be, looked at very favorably the next time there's an opening. They really made it difficult on our end, which is, it's a Cadillac problem to have, It's great to have that, but I think we got some really amazing talent in there, so.
So that meeting was not a televised meeting. Does anybody else like to make any comments? So that was not a televised meeting, and I like to put these kind of meetings on the record, or those kind of votes on the record. So I'm going to read the resolution at the night of that and we're just going to redo the resolution if that's okay with the board, so we have it a tape version of it,
Public record.
public record of
Yeah.
it. We have a minute of it, but I just better to put it on tape. Okay. Commissioner Baker, motion to approve the promotion of Lieutenant Bruce Calby to probationary fire captain. Commissioner Inkledon, second that motion. Calby will be placed on a 1-year probationary period, subject to the chief's review of Calby's personnel files. Effective date of the promotion was November 11th, 2017. And the board was polled. Commissioner Winter voted aye, Commissioner Baker aye, Commissioner Inkledon aye, Commissioner Laurie aye, and Commissioner Raven aye. Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I changed my mind.
Okay.
Just kidding.
The second resolution we did was Commissioner Baker then made a motion to approve the promotion of firefighter Daniel Olivier to probationary fire lieutenant. Commissioner Raven seconded the motion. Olivier will be placed on 1-year probationary period and is subject to the chief's review of Olivier's personnel files. Effective date of the promotion is November 11, 2017. Commissioner Winter, aye. Commissioner Baker, aye. Commissioner Inkledon, aye. Commissioner Laurie, aye. Commissioner Raven, aye. Motion carried. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to read those into the record, because that meeting wasn't taped, and we generally tape all our meetings, but that was a special meeting in the morning with mostly dealing with these matters. While we're at it, we might as well just approve the minutes for those 2 meetings. Would you? Okay, so I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2017, a special meeting that was held in this location.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Baker?
I'll second.
Mr. Raven? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. The second meeting was the budget meeting we need to approve the minutes for, and that was the October 17th, 2017 budget hearing. That date was held on a Tuesday, the third Tuesday in October, which by law is a date we're required to hold our meetings on, so we didn't arbitrarily pick that date if it seems like third Tuesday in October. That meeting was advertised with a legal notice in the Journal News, which is our legal newspaper. I was not at this meeting, but basically we proposed a budget with 0 increase year over year. So we'll have 0 spending increase year over year, and we have a list of all the itemized expenses for the year are on there. So it was a year budget increase, and that was proposed tax levy is 0. That tax levy won't exactly be 0 because the way tax assessments work is if there are any certiorarities in the town, they will change the denominator. So we can propose a 0 tax increase, and if the town's tax roll shrinks like it does every year, you will get a slight, when I say the tax roll shrinks, the assessed value in town shrinks. Each homeowner picks up a little bit of that shrinkage, and so you get a slight increase, even though the expenditure hasn't changed. Unless there's a lot of new construction, and therefore, and a lot of new housing, and then your tax roll goes up, and then your taxes will go down. Example of that would be in East End of Long Island, Southampton, where I have a summer home. My taxes go down a lot of years because there's so much building. You don't have that in Eastchester. So, I look for a motion to adopt the minutes of October 17th. Mr. Rabin, a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Inkledon, and I'll poll the board. Mr. Laurie?
Aye.
And Mr. Baker?
Aye.
And I'll abstain because I wasn't there. Okay, so that's that. Fire prevention, Chief Tween is not with us tonight.
Can you give us a report to read?
We have a report on fire prevention that you can read as soon as I find it.
Okay.
I'm looking for that now. Maybe I'll pass, okay, yeah, here it is. So, I have the fire prevention report. October is Fire Safety Month, and it looks like the fire safety people have been quite busy giving training out to students. So, do you have that there? Well, it's just,
Yes, this is right here.
Yep.
Okay, the fire prevention unit team, however you want to qualify them, was quite busy. They went to all the area schools and then some. apparently, let's see, they conducted a fire safety training with 110 students from Bronxville Elementary, 230 students from Ann Hutch Elementary, 120 students from Waverly Elementary, 90 students from the Creative Playtime Nursery School, 120 students from the Waverly Elementary School, 34 students from Immaculate Conception, 100 students from the Cottle Elementary School, 208 students from Waverly. I guess that's in addition to the 120 previously. Let's see, 126 students from Immaculate Conception again, 30 students from Children's Corner Nursery School, 120 students from Cottle on top of the other 100, and 280 students from Greenvale. So when you total it all up, that's 1,573 students. And then there was a high school haunted house they went to, and they remained at the school during the event, inspecting and setting up the Halloween party, remained at the school during the event.
Right.
So that's fantastic.
So basically, the fire prevention folks go to this, because it's Fire Safety Month at the schools, and they bring firefighters with them. And so between the firefighters and fire prevention, and I think Steve might have been to one of these, and
What were you dressed as?
Just myself, I'm senior man, that's myself.
so, and also the Bronxville School during the month hosted a safety day for all the emergency workers representatives from emergency workers. So I stopped by, and you had the Bronxville Police there, DPW there, the fire department was there, many of their police officers out in front of the elementary school. It was put on by the PTA. So I think the working relationship with the fire department and the schools in town is quite excellent. And we also do walkthroughs now of all the buildings on a fairly regular basis. So I think it's quite good. So that's some of my chairman's comments. I'll move down to Jamie. Do you have your treasurer's report for us? I know you gave us a copy.
Yeah.
Sure. And this month, do you want to, I don't know if you can pull a chair up or,
That chair in the corner there is good.
That one?
put it in the corner. I don't know if that's good.
Squeezing it.
Now I look like I know what I'm doing.
Okay, so I must say, this month, Jamie supplied with the chief and Lisa, our new office person, has supplied us reports, including absent days by member, month-to-date and year-to-date, overtime by a member, month-to-date, year-to-date, monthly training reports for each member, monthly fire prevention reports, which we recapped here with Mr. Baker, monthly report on night shift enrollees, and we also got the money transfer reports and the treasurer's report. But these monthly reports are a very good recap of what's happening in the department, and hopefully we'll be getting these every month, and they're quite excellent, and everything's kind of coming together. It's really worked out well. Thank you, Jamie.
Sure. Sure, all right, so for the treasurer's report this month, similar to last month, we're still running at about $700,000 budget surplus as of right now. However, there are certain accounts where we need to make budget transfers. So for tonight's meeting, I'm presenting the line items where I'm recommending the transfers to and from. The largest items, and we've done this one other time this year, the largest items, which I think we all anticipated, coming into this year, were we've done a lot more work on Chester Heights than we had budgeted for, and also the overtime budget, which is always one of the areas we're looking at when we're talking about these transfers. We did leave it static from the previous year, even though we had, a compounded salary increase, and we know, we have been running light in some of the positions. So, inevitably, we just tend to run with more overtime because of that.
Right, basically, the salary line's reduced, but the overtime's higher.
Right,
Because
that's
you're not
right.
paying it out in salary. You're paying it
Yeah.
out in overtime versus a straight salary with medical benefits.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So I don't know
So
if you
I
want
have
me to
you,
go through this or,
I have your list here of requested transfers that you've emailed everybody.
Yeah.
And I can read through them, or you can read through them. You might read them. You might get the numbers right if you read through them.
you want me to read this all out?
Well, what should we do, guys? We got a page full of transfers. They total $717,644.29.
I mean, again, this is just moving from one line to another,
Right.
To cover the lines where we are either already over budget for the year or where we know, we can tell that we're gonna be over budget by the end of the year. So some of them, like for instance, the overtime covers our overage to date plus what I'm anticipating will get us through the rest of the year.
I might as well read them. I can read these out in a matter of a second,
That's fine.
pretty quickly. I'm going to say, so we're going to transfer from, I'm not going to say the line numbers because we don't need to do that. We're going to transfer from other miscellaneous expenses, $1,660 to outside services. We're going to transfer $60 from other miscellaneous expenses to advertising publications. $1,899.17 from contingency going to payroll processing expense. Contingency, $41,193.30 coming out of going to emergency equipment. $203.46 contingency expenses going to subscriptions. That's $203.46. Contingency expenses, $35,000 going to the fire chief's salary line. Apparatus fund, long-term, $250,000 coming from to capital improvement station 4 exterior. $25,200 from apparatus fund, short-term, going to capital improvement station 4, and $72,994.39 going come from contingency expenses, again, to capital improvement station 4. So that sounds a little over $300,000, and that's about what we spent on the roof. Professional consulting fees, $4,525.70 going to consulting fees. $4,078.70 saved by the bell.
Eastchester Max 57 Medic 1 Edge 27202, One Riverview Place.
Fountains at
Fountains at
Riverview.
Riverview, first female, severe nosebleed. Eastchester Max 57 Medic 1 Engine 27202, One Riverview Place, Fountains at Riverview. For female, severe nosebleed, 2111, 6th break train.
I'm sure you all needed to hear that.
Right. Watching the magic happen.
Professional consultant fees, $4,078.70, labor consulting. We can't turn that speaker off. It does not have a volume control. It's fixed, so that can never be turned off. Maintenance worker salary, $13,238.57 going to retro salary. Fire captain's salary, $40,000 going to firefighters overtime. Treasurer, secretary, part-time assistant, $60,000,
We're going.
firefighters overtime. Longevity salary, $90,000 firefighters overtime. And workman's compensation, $63,591 firefighters overtime. EMT pay $14,000 going to firefighters overtime, for a total of $14,644.29. Can I have a motion that we make those transfers?
I make that motion?
Mr. Victor, and a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Raven, and I'll pull the board. Mr. Laurie?
Aye.
Mr. Inkledon?
Aye.
Mr. Raven?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll say aye, motion carries.
I'd like to make one note before you go off that. You read repeatedly from the contingency expense. That's all the same line. It's 1989.2, and it's like a general fund for, and we got parceled out into individual areas that we needed to cover.
Correct.
And that's a line we don't have for next
The
year.
line we don't have
That's
anymore,
big, huh?
that line was in there during the contract negotiations with the union. And that's why that
Just-
line was,
Clearing it up for people at home.
yeah, and, so, but that line doesn't exist. We have one other transfer that Jamie would like us to make, or we should make, and that's where we have our excess balance. We should, we have a fund for capital improvements to fix the firehouses, we have and to buy fire engines with. So, we currently have in that account $1,958.40 $1,958,303.93, basically almost $2 million. If we buy 3 fire engines, that's almost $2 million, or about $600,000 a fire engine. And when we do the Chester Heights Firehouse, we'll probably spend $1.5 million doing the Chester Heights Firehouse. So we do have excess cash in our general fund that we have in there, and we want to move that into the reserve. So the reserve is larger, so we can buy our fire engines and move it out of the general fund. We need enough cash in the general fund to get us past May 15th, 2018, because we will not see another dollar from tax revenue till May 15th, 2018. So if we make this transfer of 1.5 million, we will probably make that without doing what we call TAN, which is a tax anticipation note. Most municipalities do tax anticipation notes. We generally don't do those. Right now, we don't do them. Fair to say?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
right.
how's your reading skills?
Okay. Now, therefore, the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Town of Fire District of the Town of Eastchester, Westchester County, New York, duly convened in regular session is hereby resolved as follows. Whereas the resolution dated October 14th, 1971, authorizing the establishment of a capital reserve fund for capital improvements for the Town Fire District of the Town of Eastchester, New York, was properly created by a resolution dated October 14th, 1971. Whereas currently the reserve fund has an available balance of approximately $1,958,303.93. Whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners have utilized an investment account at J.P. Morgan Chase in the name of the fire district, all within accordance with the investment policy. Whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners determined that it in the best interest of the district and in its residents to deposit $1,500,000 from the investment account into the reserve fund for a planned future project. Whereas such $1,500,000 in accordance with the general municipal law is not required by law to be paid into any other fund or account. Now, therefore, the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Town Fire District of the Town of Eastchester, Westchester County, New York, duly convened in regular session, does hereby resolve as follows. Resolved that it is hereby authorized that $1,500,000 of the monies now on deposit in its aforementioned investment account be transferred or deposited into the aforementioned reserve account. Resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately, and that the funds can be utilized after the permissive referendum period has expired where no legally correct referendum has been filed, or where there is a legally correct referendum filed, then after a successful mandatory referendum period. The motion was offered by Commissioner, sorry.
Mr. Baker, making that motion?
Apparently.
I'll second it.
Mr. Raven? Okay, Mr. Laurie?
Aye.
Mr. Dingledon?
Aye.
Mr. Raven?
Aye.
Of course.
Aye, motion carries. So that's just housekeeping, really, moving the money into the reserve fund. You can't take money out of a reserve fund in the same year you move it. So by doing it at year end, we'll be able to do it next year, use that capital. Okay. So, well, you want to go with Jamie, and more your report. What else do we have to do?
I think, yes, you have the bills, and you'll see the bill for the pension system is in this month's warrant. That's about a $2.1 million invoice. We need to pay by December 15th to take advantage of the discount.
Right, and the way that works is the state incentivizes you to pay your bill early. They'll give you, I think, a 2% discount if you pay your bill and not wait until next year. So we're gonna pay the bill this year. Typically, a fire district, if for a tier 2 employee, is about 25%, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, 28.
28% for a tier, so a fireman's salary, 28% of it is for the pension cost. If they're a tier 6 employee, that number probably drops down to 19 or 18% or something.
Yeah. 15.
How much?
15.
15 for tier 6?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty big. So, so the tier 2 employees obviously have the better deal. The last hires would be tier 6 employees.
Oh, they're 15. It's 15 for 6,
15?
20 for 5, tier 5.
And general employees pay, you pay about 13.5%. For a general office employee, you pay, if they're in the pension system, you pay about 13.5%. So our bill is $2 million odd that we have to pay for retirement system. If the retirement system was to have a bang-up year, we would not have to pay 28%, so, in their investments. The way the retirement system works, and most people don't understand this, is they have a bogey of about, I think it's 7.5%, and if they don't earn 7.5%, you have to make up the difference. So if the stock market was to crash 3 years later, our percentage would go up. If the stock market does really well, our percentages go down. And that's how the pension system operates. Okay, Jamie, anything else?
No, just approval of bills.
The bills,
And that's
do you want to do the bills? Did you read the bills?
I read 'em.
I didn't read them, but I looked at them earlier online. Okay, so I have a motion to pay the bills, I'll do that right now too. Okay. I'm looking for a motion to pay $2,637,429. No, yes, 400. I gotta type it, no, $2,637,429.66. So the total bills is $2,637,429.66. 2 million of that is basically the pension system. And we have two sets of warrants. The first set of warrants is $2,637,429.66. Second set of warrants is $12,233.66. And we have a credit card bill which is for $514.63.
Motion.
Mr. Raven makes that motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. Inkledon. Mr. Laurie?
Aye.
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 And I'll say aye. You can pay the bills, Jamie.
Great.
And thank you. And the reports, those monthly management reports are really well done. Jamie provides
You're
us a bank rec every month. She provides all the bank statements, a complete bank rec. Jamie doesn't do her own bank rec, which is good, you know. It's a teamwork effort, so we have pretty good checks and balances at this point. What else do we have?
Committee reports, anything with the election?
Well, we have, let's do the election items
Okay.
now.
Do you have anybody running?
Actually, there was one name submitted today. Commissioner Baker has submitted a proposal, you know, a petition.
Petition,
Yeah.
yeah. Proposal.
A proposal, a petition, an offering.
Yes, I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so we have to
Still plenty
author,
of time.
yeah, I should say that. You have until November 22nd to submit a ballot with 25 names on it if you would like to run for Board of Fire Commissioners. The petition basically states when the office is going to start, January 1st, 2018, when it's going to end, 12/31/2022. You can elect 25 names, we'll give you a copy of a petition. You go out and get 25 people to sign it who are residents of the town. And then
Of the
you're.
district.
Of the district.
Right.
The
Towns
town
and
being
villages.
Bronxville, Eastchester, or Tuckahoe.
Right.
And they're registered voters, you get those 25 names and you can get your name on the ballot. And that's how that works.
Then we fight to the death.
That's right. And the elections is held on December 2nd between the hours of 2 and
December 12th.
December 12th,
12th.
December 12th. I'm sorry about that. Tuesday, December 12th, between the hours of 2 and 9. If you'd like to vote early, you can do that. No. Between the hours of 2 and 9, there's 5 polling locations. Generally, people who vote in fire district elections know those locations. Do you want me to repeat them? I might as
Yeah,
well.
might as well.
Okay, if you live in the village of Bronxville, you're voting in Bronxville Village Hall. If you live in Tuckahoe, you're voting in the community center on Columbus. If you live in the center of town, Eastchester, you're gonna vote at 40 Mill Road. If you live in Chester Heights, you're gonna vote in some portion of
Bronxville Manor.
Bronxville Manor, you're gonna vote at the Chester Heights Firehouse on Oregon Avenue. If you live in the north end of Eastchester or the Scarsdale PO of Eastchester, you are gonna vote at Leroy Gregory, and the name of Leroy Gregory Street is
Bell.
40 Bell Road.
40 Bill Road. And so that is between the hours of 2 and 9. I would advise if anybody's gonna vote, try to vote earlier than later because it gets dark out and you still have light till 4 o'clock.
That doesn't mean anything, because in the general election, it's from 7 in the morning till 9 at night. So it gets light, gets dark, so voting Whether it gets light or dark doesn't mean anything.
Right, I know that, but it's generally, we're only open from 2 to 9, so that's all. We're not open in the daylight, in the earlier hours.
We should mention there's no absentee option.
There's no absentee option either.
So you have to be in there
Right.
in person.
And these fire district, I'm gonna segue into another topic on this. These fire district elections get on average, because I did this math earlier, of about 1,100 votes in the last 5 years. And why is that important? Because we have to figure out how many ballots we need for the election. It's gonna cost us about 80 cents a ballot, not to buy the votes, but to buy the cards that you use on the electronic machines, because we have to use electronic machines.
Right.
Last year, we bought 2,100 ballots, and I think 1,100 people, 900,000 people voted, roughly. So, I have the exact number here, but basically 1,000 people voted, and we bought 2,100 cards. 1,060 voted last year, and the average over the last 5 years has been 1,066 people voting. Now, if it's an extremely contested election, you could have 1,500, 2,000 people voting. It's not out of the question. If it's an uncontested election, under 100 people vote. They generally always are contested, recently, in recent memory. So how many cards do we want to order? 2,000, 2,100 was last year's number. And you can't order, you gotta order them like on the 23rd, you go right the day after.
What would happen if we ran out? People would write it on a piece of paper, or we just would?
It would be ugly, because then you gotta write them on a piece of paper, on an index card, and have a box to drop them in.
And they have to be counted individually.
Yeah.
All right,
The Board
so
of Elections has a very succincct process.
2,000 and some index cards, I think is,
Well, what happens is, a lot of people took a leap in faith by not, believe it or not, the county had recommended you order as many as your number of voters. Well, that would be like
25,000.
20-odd thousand people. We're not doing that, right? So,
And there's where the budget went.
yeah, so to me, anywhere between 2,100 was the number last year. It worked. We
I
threw
think
away
that's-
1,000 cards.
I think.
But I think that's a
2,000
$600 expense.
Right. I don't think you
It's
should
the
go
cost of
past
doing business.
2,000.
What's
I
that?
don't think you should go past 2,000.
Yeah, the last big election we had was 1,590, and that's when I ran.
Right. So still 2,000 would satisfy that.
Yeah, but you gotta distribute them in each 5 polling places. But you're not likely gonna run out in any one polling, right now, we distribute among 5 polling places. So that would be 400 a polling place. Well, Chester Heights is not gonna get 400. Nobody
All right,
more votes
Chester
more than,
Heights.
last
under
year was a big
100.
turnout, but
Yeah.
Chester Heights is generally not.
Same amount?
Let's go with 2,100.
2,100,
go
same as
2,000.
previous year.
be comfortable with that. And
How much are these ballots about?
80 cents each.
there's never been 2,000 people voting any
So the
election.
difference-
Yes, there has been.
Oh, there has been. All
Yes.
right.
2,000 and
When George
2,100.
Mayer ran against,
So I think 2,100 is fine. It's a difference of $80 between 2,000 and 2,100.
Yeah, it's 80 bucks if you're dead.
So let's keep the same.
I go with 2,100. We'll do the same as last year, and if we're wrong, we're wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the decision we had to make. The other decision we have is we have to hire a mover, and we have to move the ballot machines from the county to here. Is it Orange or something like that?
Ron's truck.
No, Ron's Trucking.
Ron's Trucking is
Yeah,
the,
the honors.
okay. So I say we should authorize Lisa to contract with Ron's Trucking to move the machines. Is there anything else we need to do for the election? And there was one other thing, yes, one other thing. We have polling workers. We can only pay the poll workers $50 a day by law, which is less than minimum wage. But that's if they work more than 5 hours. It's less, well, it's probably, yeah, it's less than minimum wage if they work 5 hours. They come the night before to get instructions on how to operate the election and where they're supposed to be assigned and all that stuff. So we're proposing that we pay them $11, 1 hour, basically minimum wage, for the night before as instruction. So, so each poll worker, and we hire what, about 40 poll workers. So, I would propose that we pay the poll workers $11 an hour, which I think is minimum wage, and
The night before.
for the night before only.
$11 for the training.
for the training day.
Right.
It's a training day. And we are agreeing with you that you don't need to have them sworn in because they're already sworn in by the county.
Okay.
Okay? So we don't need a do we need a resolution?
Every one of those worked in the county, voting on this 2 weeks ago? Every one of them?
No, but they were.
Then they have, those that haven't, have to be sworn in.
But they were sworn in by the Board of Elections.
That's why
But
they're on the
did they
list.
vote, did they work on the elections?
No, but they, Anthony,
It's a
they're
certified
sworn
list.
in to get on the county list. We're getting their names from a county list.
All right.
We didn't pick them out at random, right?
Yes.
Is anybody working a full day?
No, they're not allowed.
Okay.
So I think we need a motion.
Okay, so
Pay that
Stu, you
So I
want to
would
make a motion to pay them
the
$11 for the 1
the
hour for training,
Monday train, Monday.
Monday evening training. Second? You don't want to second it because
I'm
you're involved.
I'm abstaining.
I'll second it. Mr. Laurie?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Abstain, okay. Motion carries, okay? So, which we sound like we're in good shape for the election,
Yes.
as far as mechanically. Last year was the first year we used the electronic machines, after using the levered machines for 100 years, and it worked out well. And we must thank Tom Andres, who has probably guided Lisa through this process,
Very much.
yeah, a lot. And Tom was, in the past, has been very active in doing all this for us.
And who's gonna help Lisa?
Well, the chief will figure out who can help Lisa. He'll have somebody around. Or
Like who?
Well, you got the fire, you got the Office from Fire Prevention will be here. You know, he starts at 8 o'clock, works till 4.
Okay, you're ruling.
Okay, so now, did I cover the election stuff fairly?
I don't think there's anything left.
No. Number of ballots, votes, we got that done. Committee reports, trying to move through. Career firefighters? Anything?
Nothing with a career.
The, volunteer, Commissioner
I
Laurie?
wanna thank the VFW, Lieutenant Colonel Sam DiRenzo Post. They came through with another flag for, the volunteer monument. It was deteriorated with the weather, the rope broke, and the town highway department, Hector and his men, put the bucket truck there, and with the new flag that was donated from the Lieutenant Colonel Sam DiRenzo Post, they put it up with no charge to us, and I want to thank them publicly on, as of right now, Hector and his crew, for doing that service for us.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. And anything else there?
No.
I have to just jump back to Korea for 1 second.
CPAT.
You got it.
Just, as I said, nothing. We have to, what we gotta do, we gotta call
We,
for a
well,
list.
we'll ask Jamie to call for a list, and then next month, if we have time, I don't know when or who's doing the list for CPAT.
I would request it, but it's gonna be tight now.
And then if we request a list, how many names on the list do we have to go down to? In other words, can we just, is there gonna be like, I don't know how many names are on this list.
I
We
think
have-
it's 18,100.
There's a, yeah.
There's 18,100s?
In the town of Eastchester.
In the town of Eastchester.
Okay, so if there's 18,100s, we're gonna have to request all 18,100s go take CPAT, right?
Yep,
So,
unless you want a lawsuit.
request a list, and then we'll send the 18 for CPAT. Does anybody have a disagreement with that?
There's nothing we can do. If there's 18 people that are listed with the same score, you have to give everybody the opportunity.
Now, some of those
No cost.
18, some of those
Right.
18 may have taken positions somewhere else.
Right.
So that may be a,
Well, there were 23, so 5 are off the list now, and there's 18 left.
Yeah, so let's get.
you're very well informed.
Well,
Have to be.
he's the president of the union.
Yes. Keep everyone honest.
Okay? So why don't we request a list? And then we'll make it, and then we'll send letters out for the 18. We should probably take a vote on that.
Yeah, we should do the motion. I'll make a motion to call for that list of 18 people.
And then and follow up with a letter to those
Yeah,
18.
absolutely.
I second that motion.
Mr. Laurie?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll say aye. Okay? And then we'll start that process moving in some direction. Volunteer firefighters, Mr. Baker, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that Commissioner Laurie was done with what he was saying. Were you done with your?
Yeah.
Okay. Following up on the latest with the Article 78, It's very voluminous, it's getting late, so I'm not going to go into excruciating detail. I know, that's a joke coming from a lawyer. We got a partial response in regard to the judge's court order. It was, and we're still going through it. It was only from the Volunteer Officers Association. We didn't get anything from the benevolent. It's voluminous, but it's also a extremely partial response for the areas that we requested and they were ordered to provide. Some of the stuff makes sense, some of the stuff doesn't. I'm not gonna go through all of them. We're trying to put it together in like a actual spreadsheet and look through stuff. Some things did pop out that I wanna make comments on. For example, we were provided copies of certain checks, but not all the checks. Two of the things that I noticed, or one of the things I noticed right away is there are two check, when I say sets of checks, I don't know exactly how many there are, but they have the same routing number, they have the same account number, but they have different header information on the checks. One says Eastchester Volunteer Officers Association, the other set says Volunteer Firemen's Benevolent, but it's an address up in Carmel that I'm not going to give because I think it's somebody's home address. But it's the same address on each set of checks, it's the same account number, it's the same routing number, but it's a different header. I don't know how you can do that. There's a whole bunch, I'll let you try to make head or tail of this. There are checks that were written again, we're trying to go through this. Like there's a check that was written on November 10th of 2014 for $5,000. It's in a register, or not in a register, it's in the accounting, but the check was never provided to us, so I can't tell you what it was for. It might have been a legitimate expense, might be something else, I don't know. There's a lot of checks for Christmas parties, well, there are a lot of checks in December, generally the weekend before the election, to Westchester Manor for various amounts of people, ranging in the $5,200 to $6,500 range. There's a bunch of scholarship checks that were written. There's a check that was written for 6 lotto tickets.
Well, that was a note for 6
Well, it's a note on there. There were checks written to some of the fire companies, but not other ones. Like there was one to North End Hose in September of 2015. It's $125, but I don't know why that would have been written. There was a check for $1,000 to the Hudson Valley Honor Flight. There were checks that were made out to.
Well, you know what the honor flight is, don't you?
I know what the Honor Flight is. I don't know why. I don't know why the volunteers wrote a check for that. That's the point I'm making.
There's nothing wrong, the honor flight is a very noble thing.
Absolutely.
But it's just not something our fire department needs to write a check for.
There are.
How do you know?
It would be virtually impossible for the fire department to be required, have any reason to write a check.
Do you ever get anything in your mail saying you want to donate to the Cancer Society, to any of the society?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
In that regard.
Okay, so
Well,
maybe that's what it was for. I don't know. I'm
I-
just telling you. Maybe that's what it's for.
there was a check written to Tuckahoe Eastchester Lions for $800, and there was another one written for the American Cancer Society for $200, all on fire department funds. 2 for an American Legion emblem for an individual. I'm not going to name the individual right now. A lot for stamps and envelopes, all in the November to December time frame of various years.
Just so we're clear, though, I know you're stating these things. Are you suggesting that definitively these were checks that shouldn't have been, like, in other words, I know that Benevolent has certain, ways that they can spend their money by their charter, but this is one of the companies, so, like.
No, this isn't the company.
company.
This isn't a company. This is an amalgamation
Of companies.
of companies.
Okay.
And they're
But,
not.
but we do not know if this is from the benevolent, like, I guess
This is
what
the
I'm saying
BOA.
is, we're going through a whole bunch of expenses, and I'm not saying that,
Right.
they're legitimate or they're not legitimate, I'm just saying, like, unless we're ready to make that determination, I don't know if it's helping us to kind of go through line by line and identify all of these.
No, I'm just giving examples of some stuff. There were some things that made, that made sense. For example, there was something to, I just had it here, hold on a second, like a firefighters, I don't know what the hell it is.
Can I try to put it in context for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so for about 4 years now, we've been trying to get find out what the Volunteer Benevolent, there's two organizations. There's the Volunteer Benevolent Association, which gets the 2% money, which we believe has $4 million in it. That is bank statements, and we believe are all in Putnam, New York.
But, well, yeah.
And then there's the Volunteer Officers Association, which is an amalgamation of all the Eastchester Fire Companies. So it would be like 5 Eastchester Fire Companies feeding into the.
More than that, but yeah.
Yeah, feeding into the Volunteer Officers Association. We have gotten 2 court orders to get bank records from both of those organizations. On March 2017 was the first court order. We went back to court when they failed to respond to the first court order. The second court order came on October 6th, saying, you're entitled to, turn it over, guys. You've already gotten the first court order. This is your second one. Turn over the records. The VBA has refused to, the Benevolent has refused to turn over any records. The Volunteer Officers Association, which is the amalgamation, which turned over bank records for the years 2012, 13, and 14, and 15, 4 years. They were supposed to turn over all their bank records, all their statements. They turned over only 40% of their statements. They included some checks and not all. But what they did include is, to me, significantly alarming, and I was a professional due diligence person. In those 4 years, they took in, from sources unknown, $142,908. I'll say that again. $142,908 in 4 years. This is an organization, the volunteers have not responded to a call in Eastchester in over 10 years.
Because we were turned down.
Okay, in
Tell
over
the,
10,
tell the public why we were
Okay,
turned down.
in over
Don't
10
just tell them your version.
in over 10 years, they have not responded to a call, and somehow they took in $142,000.
We were turned down because
over-
the chief told us to stand down.
Okay, but
Okay,
that-
Dennis, but say
That's
everything.
fine. Well, I'm just finishing what I'm saying
No,
here.
you're not. You're not
Please
telling
stop.
the whole
Stop.
truth.
Stop.
No,
Okay?
I'm not gonna stop. Were
Okay.
you wrong? I'm gonna interrupt you.
Okay. Am I wrong to say you took in $142,908?
No, I'm not the treasurer. I can't answer that.
Okay, you had check writing authority. You wrote checks to yourself.
I didn't write no checks to myself.
You want to see a copy?
Dennis, we're talking about the VOA or the
The Volunteer Officers Association.
okay, I'm not the treasurer there.
You wrote a check. You had check writing power.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I know what you're saying. I saw them, Dennis. But I did not write the checks. I saw what you're saying.
Who signed it? I can pull the check.
Go ahead.
So, you have to see these checks. It'll be right in there. Just give me the date.
Yeah, hold on a second.
So, basically, $142,000. We have.
December
we-
16, 2013.
December 16, 2013. I'll find that one.
If you want
So-
to talk, I'll look for it.
Yeah, let's look for December 13, 2016. Okay?
Spare the people, yeah.
So of this $142,000, we get a letter from their lawyer saying, sorry, we can't pay your legal bills that the judge awarded us because they don't have any money nor any way of getting money. I'm paraphrasing. So last month, we get a letter saying they don't have any money to pay the judgment against them. And in these 4 years, they got in $142,000. They spent $94,000 in these 4 years. And it went to things like catering halls, $6,000 at Lake Isle, a jewelry store for $1,015. It went to charities of all different sources. So I have a hard time understanding this where I just think when we get the VOA check, the benevolent checks, we will have a better understanding what's happening. And when we get the rest of the VOA checks, we'll have a better understanding what
Okay.
happens.
Julie,
Okay. Where are we?
This one,
No, that's not it.
this check.
Well, he's signing it, but
Well, he
that's
said
not
he
to
didn't-
him.
I know, but he said he didn't have signature to
Oh, yeah,
it.
that
yeah,
one.
but it wasn't to me.
No, but you have another one in there for you.
Keep going, I'll look it up.
You got the check number there, it'll be there. So,
Okay. It check 1264.
so,
Yeah, I
Mike,
got it right here. I signed it because I was a part of the signature statement that time. But also, let the public know that we told Commissioner Winter, the Benevolent Association, offered to sit down and go over with him. But Commissioner Winter chose to go to courts because he wanted to come out with his head above water saying that he was able to nail us for something, and nobody has done anything wrong. But Commissioner Winter totally refused to sit down with us and go over this. You didn't tell the public that, Dennis. Hello?
yeah,
Aside from that, did you tell the public you refused to sit down with us?
right, we had no reason to sit down.
Did you refuse because we wanted to tell you, show you the stuff, and you refused? Now tell the public you refused to sit down with us.
Anthony, we've had 2 court orders for you to
Dennis,
produce documents.
before we went to court, now don't get me aggravated. You already got me aggravated in executive session. Tell the public you refused to sit down with us before we went to court because you wanted to see this big payment paid from us, because you knew exactly what was going on, that you said you were gonna win and you wanted to prevail, and that's just what I just told the lawyer before. Now tell the public you refused. Why are
We
you
didn't-
afraid to tell the public you refused?
Because when you
You
file,
refused, tell the public.
let me finish what I'm saying.
No, you want to tell the public you refused us. Tell the truth.
Let me finish and I'll say it. What you have happened here.
He'll always go on with a story, and in his final story, it would say that's the farthest from the truth. But he is the farthest from the truth, public, because he don't want to admit it. We
Okay.
wanted to sit down and go over everything with him before we took this matter to court. But he thought he was going to prevail, and that's why he did this. And he'll continue doing it. And he's doing it with your money, too.
Okay, so.
Now, go ahead. Tell him you refused.
When you file a
See, he
FOIL
won't tell
request,
you.
when you file a FOIL request, again, to a municipality or an agent, someone acting as an agent for a municipality.
So that's not, wait, that's not your signature?
I didn't even look at it. I refused to look at it the way your chairman refused to sit with us.
Okay,
Okay, Steve?
Okay.
Now, come on, let's be gentlemen about this thing and tell the truth.
okay. When you file a FOIL request against an agency, you don't have to go negotiate your FOIL request. They're supposed to come back, write you a letter and tell you why you are not entitled to the document based on an exclusion under public offices law, saying the documents you asked for don't comply for the following reasons and we don't have to turn them over. The Benevolent and the VOA both refused to answer the first FOIL request. We went to New York State, we sent them an appeal letter like you're required to do under New York State law. They refused to answer both of those as required by New York State law. We went to New York State Committee for Open Government. We wrote the Committee for Open Government and said, is the Volunteer Benevolent Association subject to the Freedom of Information Act? And they said, they're an agency of the fire district. If the fire district was to request information from them, they would have to produce it. At which time, we went back to the Benevolent and the VOA, and we sent them the letters we got from the state and said, please produce the documents. We sent another round to request an appeal letter. We went in a public meeting, said we're going to file an Article 78 if you do not respond. We filed the Article 78, and then Mr. Laurie filed an affidavit as to why they shouldn't have to produce the documents. After that, we got the judge to restrain, we got the judge to basically say, you can't be doing this. That affidavit had to go by the wayside, which it did. Then the judge ruled in our favor. First, they tried to dismiss it, didn't get dismissed. Then the judge ruled in our favor. After, I think it was 5 months, 2 months later, we filed a contempt of court motion with the court. We've done everything possible you can do in a normal course of business to ask for these documents. We are now getting the documents. The documents are somewhat, we're getting a limited amount of documents, and the documents raise red flags like you're swinging it back and forth. And so that's where we are. I hope not to have this confrontational behavior. But I
What
think,
behavior? What behavior? You still didn't tell the public you refused to sit down with us.
I explained why.
No, but tell them that we came to you and told you, would you like to sit down and discuss this? Tell them you refused.
Okay, there's one other thing I
See?
will bring up.
He won't tell you that.
There's one other thing I will bring up. The benevolent is required to file with the state every year how they spend their money. Okay? There's an annual filing saying how much money's in the benevolent and how are you spending it. The $142,000 between 2012, 13, 14, and 15, you will not find on those 4 years of filing with the state. If you pull the state filings, FOIL-S will give them to you, you will not find the $142,000 showing up in the VOA. They don't report it. There's one other thing, and these matters are important, and you have to do things in paper, not verbally. In 2007, the IRS changed laws for fire districts, fire departments, volunteer fire companies. If you are a charitable organization, you need to file a 501 status with the IRS. Failure to file 501 status for the IRS for 3 consecutive years makes all your income taxable. I'm not a tax attorney, I'm not an attorney, but I can read publications. So if you don't file for 3 consecutive years, 501 status after 2007, the IRS deems all your income taxable. What is the threshold for that? Oh, it's $25,000. Okay, $77,000 came in one check. So does the VOA file tax returns?
Do you want to know something? Mr. Winters came to one of our meetings one night, and we asked him if he would like to speak to us. He was a commissioner. We gave him the courtesy. Mr. Winters jumped up like an animal and said, I come here to look at your checkbook. And we told him, you're not going to look at no checkbooks. Point blank. And he walked out. That's the way a gentleman comes to a meeting? Am I correct, Dennis?
No, that's not exactly what happened.
Yes,
You told
it
me to
was.
leave the meeting, and I said,
Yeah,
before I leave, can I read your checkbook? And
No,
said
you did not, Dennis.
Can I just
Come
say
on,
something?
Dennis. You did
Here's-
not.
Here's what I think about this. You know, I think the actions we have taken have been appropriate.
I totally agree.
I think we need to continue to compel the, different volunteer organizations and the benevolent to basically answer the judge's order, which is
Correct.
provide us full information and pay our legal fees. And I think we should, the majority of the board is in agreement that that's how we want to proceed. That said, I do think that, going line by line on things at this point is probably not the most prudent way to approach this. Simply because, while there may be things in there that are not good, and I'll grant you that that's a possibility. We don't know that for fact yet. And I think where you're putting out a fact set by doing that without that information. And I just want to be careful. Let's get, and I'm frustrated that the volunteers haven't provided what they said they were going to provide, or what they're obligated to provide. And I want to get it. But I would hold off on the line by line, on the this, you sign this check, you sign that check. Let's let this play out, and there's going to be plenty of time to do that.
I agree with
guarantee
that. No,
you.
I agree
So-
with that. I just wanted to make sure people understood that this is a potentially problematic issue. I mean,
For a variety of
for our reasons. I was shocked that it's $142,000 over 4 years. Sorry, I was shocked by that number.
Yeah, but don't label us as the bad guys either, Dennis. Come on. You've been trying to do that for the last 4 years.
The easiest way-
Just
Just give the documents forward, and there's no problem.
Dennis, all you're doing is your side of the version. We did this in executive session too with the lawyer. When I told the lawyer that, you didn't even respond. You didn't even respond. You kept your mouth shut. So now tell the public that part too.
Okay, so let's move on.
I got a
Okay, see?
question.
Whenever you
I
don't
got
want
a
to hear
question.
something, let's
Who's-
move on.
Who's the treasurer?
Who's the treasurer of what?
You said you're not the treasurer
No, I'm not.
of the Volunteer Officers Association?
Let's wait till you get the legal documents, you'll see,
And
okay?
here we are.
Who's the
And here we
treasurer?
are.
If I can just say one thing, I think that the difference, the sides between giving an update about a legal proceeding and going into evidence and trying to explain I shouldn't even say hearsay, but
not
opinion.
hearsay, but-
It's opinion right now, because we're not in court. We're not judges looking over, it, we're not fighting. But I think that what we're doing here at the table, which is probably unfair in a lot of respects, is we're blurring that line between being a fire commissioner right now and being a member of the volunteer organization on the board sitting here. I think the argumentative aspect is detrimental to what we're doing here. But I do agree, if there has been a court proceeding or a decision handed down in which one party is required to provide information to another or compensation, that I agree with what Peter said 100%. I think it should be at that for now, and as we move forward, as things become a little bit more perhaps complicated, then we go that way, and we deal with it on that day. But I think for days like this, update, here's where we're at, this is where the judge has said, this is a status, basically like a status, our own little status conference. I think that's fair, and it gives enough information to the people, and I think it serves us better in the long run to keep that level.
Right,
Right.
I agree
don't
100%.
disagree. The
That's
issue,
all.
one of the problems with this though is that, some people in town are sorely concerned about this.
I agree, I understand that, I do.
But also, if there is any impropriety, I have an obligation, not only as a fire commissioner, but the other lawyers in the back of the room, DR 1-102 and DR 1-103, correct?
You're correct.
I will be pushing it forward as an officer of the court.
Of course, but what we're doing now is letting.
No,
you know,
but I'm
the
saying,
attorneys,
there's,
you know,
yeah,
do their
but it's
thing.
not,
We're paying them,
Yeah.
let them.
it'll be a lot easier, and like I said, we've got, and I'll get off the topic on that. There was an article in the paper recently where Mr. Levin held himself out in the article to be the treasurer of the Volunteer Benevolent. He is not. He cannot be.
Right, I think you made those comments in the October meeting.
Yep. And it's come up again.
Alright.
So,
Well, there may be a good thing if he's the treasurer. Under New York state law, the treasurer of a not-for-profit, I believe, is personally responsible for everything. So, and that's the way it works.
What do we have next?
Okay, so next is house and apparatus. Let's move on to fire engines. The
Yeah.
chief circulated
Hooray.
and you got house and apparatus. So you have anything there? Mr. Devon?
Chief's proposal came in late. I haven't had a chance to review it, but it seems like we're making progress. I think they've got a visit scheduled to go up, view the service area, the showroom, you know. But we've got a preliminary that we're gonna review, and hopefully we'll have more to say on that at the next meeting. As far as our work at Chester Heights, the roofing itself, the shingling is complete. We did have a change order that we approved a little more than a month ago to replace and restore some dormers, the windows and dormers in the back of the building. Those windows have just been received. There was a lag time, but I believe we'll be installing those. They were supposed to go in today, but I drove by and there was no work going on. So it could just be that there was a scheduling conflict with the contractor. So that we expect to happen, and it should only take a couple of days, and then that part of the project will be complete. We also received a proposal late today, which I haven't even forwarded to the board yet, but which I will tomorrow, with a proposal to do the remainder of the exterior work at that firehouse from the architect, which would include preparing the bid documents for the remaining work, as well as project management and oversight. One of the things, unfortunately, when we broke up this project, the project oversight would have been done for both the facade work and the roof at the same time. When we broke it up to roof and facade, it's basically doubled the work. So we're gonna be charged again for that. But it's something we'll evaluate, and hopefully we'll come to an agreement and get that part of the project rolling. So more to say about that at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
I just piggyback, I just wanted to say, first of all, thanks. In light of this election now coming around in December, it will be, almost a year that I've been on the board. And I have to say that within the last, from January until now, the work that's been done prior to that was kind of slow moving forward and now kind of pushed through in 2017 with Chester Heights. It's just been, I think, incredible. I just want to say, thanks Peter, you know, for the time that you do spend in trying to get this through. I know that everybody here appreciates. I'm sure the four gentlemen to my right have been dealing with the idea of Chester Heights being a reality of a project for longer than I have. But I think they'll share with me how good it feels to be able to see something like that start and actually come to some kind of fruition, even if it's just the roof. It's leaps and bounds compared to where it was in November, which I think is outstanding. And the idea that we are literally talking about the purchasing of trucks, I think is a true testament to what we're looking to do moving forward in 2018 as far as using this house and apparatus account like we always have wanted to this year to purchase apparatus and to continue to fix Chester Heights. So I just want to say I'm very happy to see that this is getting done, because these are the kinds of things that our taxpayers get to see when they're traveling through town, as being, what is our fire district doing aside from saving lives and running on medical calls, but what else are they doing with this budget? And it's great to be able to say, well, there's a new roof from Chester Heights, hopefully a new facade will be done by this time next year, and then on to the inside. So I just wanted to make those comments and say thanks for, you know, I think we worked really well this year. There's a couple of bumps in the road the last couple of months, but I think we worked really well in getting these projects done, so.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And some things you don't see are like Jamie's reports and the chief's reports. Driving down the street, you don't see those, but from a management point of view, I think we've gone leaps and bounds.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, that's house and apparatus. Budget and finance, do we have anything, Stuart?
No, I think with today's motion and moving the money, we'll be using that money towards more improvements, so that's great.
Health and wellness, we have to get a road, now with the new chief's in place and he's hitting the ground a little bit, Steve, maybe we can arrange for, and you can, that committee was kind of large last time I looked, the health and wellness, but we should probably sometime arrange a date for a health and wellness
Okay,
meeting.
I'll contact them.
Since-
I'll
Yeah,
set
because
up.
we have the training officer and the, you know, we're getting there.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, any board member comments before I go to public comments or anything?
I just have one comment I just wanted to make, because I told the firefighter that I wanted to bring it up. It's just Frank Nanarello, as everyone knows here, but maybe not at home, is the leader along with Local 916 in the Toys for Tots toy drive every year. And I spoke to Frank, and he said that starting next week, just I guess right after Thanksgiving or just before Thanksgiving, the signs will start appearing at the firehouses all around town. And if anybody has an interest in donating, please do. Last year we made these comments that the Local 916 Eastchester Fire District is the #1 provider of toys for the Toys for Tot program in Westchester, which is a great thing to be able to say about our firemen and a great thing to say about our town and the residents. So next week, when you see those signs go up, you can begin dropping off toys at any one of our 5 locations, and they will do multiple drops thereafter. So if you do come late, you should be all right. Just drop them off whenever you want, and one of our representatives will get them to where it needs to be, even if it's closer to Christmas than you thought you'd be there. So thank you.
Steve, do you have any comments for us tonight?
Just on behalf of the union, I'd like to thank all the commissioners for all the progress we've been making the past year. It seems we were stagnant for a while, but lots beginning accomplished. Chester Heights is looking great. It's going to be looking a lot better when it's done, and the new apparatus and all the other things that get put into place. Thank all of you for it.
Thank you, Stephen. That's our union president praising the board. In case the mic didn't pick
In
it
2
up.
more years, I won't be.
I have to say that because you don't hear it often. But it's
That'll
good to
never
hear.
happen again.
Okay.
Move to strike.
Public comment? Anybody from the public like to make a comment? Sure.
How you doing? My name is Raymond Inello from the Chester Heights Civic Association. Wanted to come by to the meeting. As a community, we're very proud of the firehouse, the building, the historic look, and the restoration of it. I think it's very important, holds the character of the community. We're also wanted to follow up with regards to the meeting room and using the upstairs, and if anything has been decided on kind of the interior or where you guys are with that.
Yeah, we're still, our right now we're focused on finishing the exterior work, and hopefully we're gonna start that this spring. After that is in progress, once this bid package is behind us, then we're gonna evaluate how we're gonna move forward. We do intend to restore the inside of the house and those public spaces, but that engineering and architectural work hasn't even been started yet. So we'll have to engage an engineer, go in, come up with plans, research laws on what's gonna be required if we do a renovation of that size, and kind of really sit down and try to figure out what kind of purpose we want that building to serve. Is it gonna be more of a, more available to the public as a meeting place? And if so, what do we have to do to accommodate that? So I believe those discussions will begin in earnest in probably the end of the first quarter of next year, maybe say the second quarter. But realistically, we're not gonna do anything in that house, construction-wise, probably for a year on the inside. And so as far as access to the building, until that's done, it's gonna be limited.
Okay, so I understand that. I could only stress the importance of it being a meeting place for the Chester Heights residents. We had our last meeting up at the Tuckahoe School. There was a very low turnout due to, I believe, walkability, even people driving at night. They may not want to get in the car and drive at night. So it's very important. It's a real hub for the community, for the meeting place, even though we meet about 4 or 5 times a year, have a couple events there. It's very important. So whatever feedback or information you need to continue what we've done for the last 50 years prior, we would love to be part of that conversation.
Yeah, the issue we have is right now, the building itself, is just, we have requests from time to time to use it as a polling place, and we're letting that happen. We weren't gonna let it happen, and then the roof got done as timely, so we were able to allow a few elections there. We weren't thinking we were gonna be able to, but we were able to because they cleared up pretty quick. But the second floor, it doesn't have a second means of egress. It's just, there's a number of issues why we can't use it right now.
I understand that. We'll get through the next 18 months. We're really looking forward to the restoration, and we'll live with the time until it's completed. But in the short term, I believe that there's a Tuckahoe school bond that usually is a polling place, but it's been changed.
I don't know what the Tuckahoe, I heard there's a December 5th.
Yes,
that's
but
the
it's
bond.
not going, am I correct in saying
They're
it's
gonna be at
not
Cottle, the
it's gonna be
Chester Heights
Cottle?
residents should be
Cottle.
voting at Cottle for that
Okay.
election.
But
So-
but the commissioner's election will take place at the firehouse.
Yes, yes, because the problem we had, we didn't think we were gonna be able to do that, but the construction, as Peter Incledon said, the construction got done in a timely manner. It didn't run over, so we were able to open the building up and use it for the election only. They
Okay.
can't go on the second floor or anything. One of the problems with the school board election I see is people just gonna be burnt out from voting. You had the November election, which got a very large turnout this last November election townwide. Now, if you have a Tuckahoe School Board election and a fire district election,
Well, it's for a special bond.
It's a special
know, but
bond.
it's still- it's an
The,
election.
I think, and I can be off the mark on this, but I believe that the Tuckahoe School District needed to have confirmation at a certain time much earlier than our general elections to know if they could use the polling place for the December 5th
Yes.
bond.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's why the bond is still not going to be taking place at our building, because that polling place has already been
Correct.
confirmed
Correct.
for that, and I don't believe it can be changed.
All
or
right, I
that
just
the
wanted to clear up that
district wants to
confusion,
change.
why one election was happening and.
Yeah, it wasn't a-
being used
it
for
wasn't
another,
a-
so.
That was actually the first vote that was approved. The general election, we had a question whether or not the general election was gonna be able to happen in there, and that cleared up
Right.
quite quickly
where
versus
within
the
days of the
December
election,
one.
it cleared
Yeah.
up.
Okay,
We know how important it is to you and the people there, and we're gonna do everything we can to get it back online for you.
okay.
All right.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Yep. Yeah,
And like I mentioned at the meeting that you guys were at in, I believe it was August, in Bronxville, if you or Dawn or any other member of Chester Heights needs help finding another location, I'm certainly happy to help you.
All right, thank you. I'm just looking at the long term, so,
No,
the
we're all- I think we're all on the same
long-term
page.
importance of it
Right.
is,
Absolutely.
is really.
It's a priority.
All right. No fear. Once it goes offline, it never comes back.
Correct.
Not gonna happen.
okay, anybody else for public comment? Mr. Vichy?
The windows that are in and will be going back in the back of Station 4, are they similar to the ones that were taken out?
They're a lot nicer.
No, yeah, I mean, do they open up and down, or do they open the swing, the casement type?
To be honest, they open, I don't know whether they open, they should be casement windows. Also, that area where there was an air conditioner, there's a piece of plywood that we put in at one point. That's gone, and that's gonna be a nice window now, so, the answer is, I can get you the details if you want.
Will the air conditioner be going back in or no?
What's that?
Will the air conditioner be going back in? Will the cable be reconnected?
What cable?
Cable for the TV.
I didn't know it was disconnected, so.
Came through that window, that's why when they took everything out, they took the wire out
Yeah,
too.
we'll figure that out. I don't know the answer, but like, I'm sure we can figure out a way to get the cable going back up.
We won't be drilling through the window frame, I can tell you that.
It's gotta come in somehow, but I don't know how it came in, but it
You know,
came
we
in
decided
through.
to nix the air conditioner just because we're gonna be renovating the interior spaces and we're gonna deal with it in a proper way, and that wasn't the proper way.
Okay, any board members have closing comments?
Get out and vote. We won't be meeting most likely before.
Correct. Now, Mr. Raven's comment is December 12th, make sure you come out and vote between 2 and 9, the fire district elections. My closing comment will be, we're about to see, it looks like a tax law change in this country.
Yeah.
And the tax law, the way it's proposed and the way the media is selling it is, if the $10,000 cap goes through on your local taxes, and you're not allowed to deduct state and local taxes, there is going to be a whole new emphasis on local governments on how they manage their money, which will not be a bad thing. But this tax law is a very bad thing for New York, for Westchester County, and any high-taxed area, particularly Bronxville, where your average home pays something like $55,000 or $40,000 a year in taxes. The average home in Eastchester probably pays about $20,000 a year in taxes, and Tuckahoe, I'll guess, is 17, if I had to put an average number out there. So the fact that people are losing significant tax deductions if this passes is going to put a lot of emphasis on local boards. One thing local boards, I think, will do is issue more bonds, because they can go issue bonds and mask the true expense. We don't have any bonds outstanding right now. Currently, we're debt-free. But, people should watch this tax law. You should participate in your elections, whether it's fire district, school board, whatever the elections are, you should participate. This tax bill is going to make the world change dramatically if passes as it's stated. It's not going to be for New Yorkers, it's a pretty horrible thing, and it looks like it might happen. On that pleasant note,
When is the next board meeting?
I'm guessing the second week in December, but
December 14th.
14th would be the likely
That would be
date.
the Thursday.
Okay, just wanted to tell the public that.
Well, our next meeting will likely be December 14th, and we'll pick a location. And
Happy
we'll-
Thanksgiving to all.
Oh, yeah.
And happy Thanksgiving, and that's true too. Are they playing football the day?
No, they're not doing it this year.
No
What?
football.
No turkey bowl?
Okay,
No 207A bowl?
I wasn't running it. Yeah, exactly.
okay, so, motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.